Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, offering seasonal nonstop service to Denver. Outdoor concerts, hiking, and more activities in the Mile High City are one flight away on Frontier Airlines. Close, convenient, Sierra. More at CIRA.com.
A Bloomington Normal professor is getting a big grant to help make high school science classrooms more inclusive. That's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Thursday, May 9th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with the mayor of Normal, who is shifting his generally free market stance on projects that could reduce the housing shortage for mid-tier workers. WGLT's Charlie Schlenker has more.
Mayor Chris Coos says some developers have told him if interest rates come down a couple points, they could move ahead. Those significant rate reductions don't look likely this year. Coos says Normal and other communities are involved in brainstorming discussions about how to break the logjam and satisfy a pent-up demand for housing.
Perhaps low-interest buy-downs of loans to get the interest rate for housing projects that we think qualify for our need in the community to help them get started.
Coos is thinking about a program to encourage construction of housing specifically to serve younger people who have jobs, so-called workforce housing.
And I've had conversations with the state about partnering on that. You know, the municipality is involved at a certain level, the state's involved at a certain level.
The housing shortage is not just in Bloomington Normal. Coos says it has built statewide over the last 15 years. Coos says he even used a joint appearance in Bloomington with the state's top official this week to press the point.
The brief conversation with Governor Pritzker, very brief, an acknowledgement that we have to do something to get housing started.
There is a program that offers lower interest financing now available in McLean County through the Tri-County River Valley Development Authority. But that requires some units in a project to be set aside for people who earn no more than half the median income of an area. In McLean County, that's close to $40,000. Coos says even that income limit may be a barrier for developers, and it's possible an outright grant program could work better. For The Leadoff, I'm Charlie Schlenker.
Here are some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. A new coalition of local government, public safety officials, and social service agencies is looking to get people living on the streets in McLean County sheltered in the next 60 days. That includes those living in a large encampment near downtown Bloomington. A new program from Bloomington-based Chestnut Health Services is training church congregations to understand mental health and substance abuse issues. Faith groups can take 4 courses from the health system. And Bloomington's Miller Park Zoo says its ring-tailed lemur, King Julian, is moving to a new permanent home at a zoological park in Kansas. As you may remember, that lemur was rescued from a Bloomington Normal garage last year. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. An Illinois State University professor landed a $1.5 million grant from the National Science Foundation. Special education faculty member Natalie Shaheen will spend the next 5 years researching ways to make high school science classrooms more inclusive for blind and low vision learners. Shaheen tells WGLT's Lauren Warnicki that advancements in technology have actually made K-12 STEM education less accessible, not more.
Back when I was in high school, which was a shockingly long time ago these days, we did things like dissect various animals. We explored the human skeleton, and we did these things with physical stuff you could touch. Okay, so when we dissected a frog, there was an actual frog on the bench, and we used actual scalpels to dissect the frog, right? When we were learning about human anatomy, there was a model of the human skeleton that we explored and we learned about. Today, not always, but often, those same things are happening in a simulated space online. And the way that those simulations and games and various and sundry things have been developed, they do not have the features required for those things to be accessible to blind and low vision students. So that's one example. I often joke with science teachers that we often just need to pull the skeleton out of the closet, like the one that you used 10 years ago to teach human anatomy. We just need to pull that out of the closet. That old thing that's collecting dust is actually way better for my blind, low vision students.
I think a lot of classrooms wait until they have a blind or low vision student in their classroom to make those accommodations. And even in the higher
higher ed environment, we think of accessibility as an accommodation and not a kind of baked in component of a curriculum. That may be a kind of philosophical shift that to some school districts feels like a lot of work.
Some people's response to my proposition that we should create high school science classes or any class to be born accessible so that blind, low vision students can enter that space and start learning right away, whether the teacher or the school district knew that child was coming or not. A lot of people's response is, yeah, that's a lot of work. That's true. No denying that. It's also a lot of work to accommodate a child on the back end. So the difference is, when are we doing that work and who is doing that work? Okay, so when we choose to be reactively accommodating, right? When we wait for the blind person to show up, to choose to do something about the fact that our class is inaccessible, the work happens later. And most of the work, frankly, is done by the blind student. When we choose to design our classes to be proactively accessible, we do that work sooner, and the adults do that work, which means they get to spend all of their time and all of their energy learning instead of negotiating access.
It doesn't matter how this work affects sighted people, but I do wonder what we all stand to gain.
If we can create high school science classes that are born accessible to blind and low vision students, then we open up STEM career pathways to blind and low vision students. Does that mean that every blind, low vision student is going to go into science? Certainly not. Do I want that to happen? No. I want our students to be in a position where they can make an informed choice about what career do they want to pursue. And the cool thing about that is blind, low vision people have figured out how to survive and thrive in a world that's built for sighted people, right? And because of that, we have really well-developed problem-solving skills. And those problem-solving skills are precisely the ones that make great scientists.
That's ISU professor Natalie Shaheen speaking with WGLT's Lauren Warnicki. Shaheen is the first single faculty member in her department to receive such a large grant in 25 years. She will prioritize hiring disabled scholars to join her research team. Before we let you go, the Normal Planning Commission meets tonight at 5 at City Hall. On the agenda is a request to rezone a property at 416 West Willow Street near the ISU campus from single-family to multifamily. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. Thanks to our producer, Rosalie Truback. You can subscribe to The Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.